And I think particularly for the endurance side of the athletes, there has been a maybe an over focus on the during, which is obviously incredibly important. Or the fueling stage of a race or training is very important. But because of the amount of strain that places on the body, the before and after is subsequently so vitally important. Hey guys, welcome back to the Pillar Performance Podcast. We've got a special episode today. It's our yearly wrap-up. I'm Damien Fitzpatrick. I'm the host of the show, also founder of Pillar Performance. I thought I'd run a little bit differently today with the format of the podcast. I've actually brought along Jared, who recently joined us middle of the year. A lot of our customers may have seen a lot of the content that we do. That is thanks to Jared. Jared's behind our social media. A lot of the content that we're doing with our podcast also works very closely with a lot of our athletes. So thought it was a great opportunity to bring Jared in today. We're going to talk a little bit about 2022, really try and summarize what that year looked like for Pillar. I've got a personal curation of what I thought was our key highlights and milestones for the company. So look, I hope you guys get a good understanding about what we're doing now here at Pillar, what 2022 was like, a little bit of a sneak preview into what 2023 is going to do. So I probably will start though. I'll give the 10-foot pitch on what we do at Pillar for those of you joining for the first time. This is our first full year of completion since opening operation of the business. We opened and launched Pillar in 21. So 2022 was a huge year for the business and our first complete year in operation. It's been an incredibly busy time for the company. It launched. What we do here at Pillar is we've created essentially a bridge between what we believe is a pharmaceutical preventative health category and traditional sports supplements. And what we've created is the world's first sports micronutrition brand that is 100% Informed Sports certified. So the idea stemmed heavily from my own lived experience as an athlete and some of the gaps I felt that existed in performance nutrition, and that being on the preventative health side and the micronutrition side. It's been a phenomenal first 15 months of the company. We have worked with some of the highest level athletes we can here. Obviously being an Australian brand, the launch process heavily involved Australia, and we're really looking forward to now undertaking the process of scaling the business. This year, I might call out a couple of highlights, Jared, before we jump in and before we maybe go into the Q&A. But what I wanted to probably highlight is our athletes. Our professional athletes is obviously who we strive to really serve, because my space as a professional athlete, I felt that there was definitely a need and a product space for that. We know our customers a lot wider, but I wanted to call out a couple of amazing results across this year from our athletes that have been using the product for a long time. I will start with Zach Stubblety-Cook, and swimming is a personal favourite sport of mine, as everyone knows. But Zach has been working with Pillar now for 12 months. Zach broke the world record in the 200 metres breaststroke, incredible time. He also then backed up an amazing result at the Olympics with Commonwealth Games gold and also World Championship gold for Australia in swimming. Brett Robinson obviously very recently broke the Australian record in the marathon, going 2:07, which was amazing. We've had so many of our triathletes take wins across 2022. Massive call out to Sarah Crowley, who's obviously took the Triple Crown for the Australian Ironman circuit, taking out all three major Australian races. We had Steve McKenna, Ellie, Caleb Noble, all taking out wins as well. And we're really looking forward to continuing to work closely with triathlon as a key sport for the brand moving forward. Also want to call out on the running side of space, Izzy Bat-Doyle in her debut marathon took out the Australian half marathon record as well down in Melbourne at the Nike half marathon, which was a huge result. And guys, I know I've missed an awful lot of information there, and even probably some of our teams, but just wanted to call those out. Jared, you can probably correct me if I've missed a few, but I thought we can dive straight into a few Q&As and probably try and really unpack this year that was. Over to you, mate.
Yeah, awesome. Hey guys, Damo, I guess like the first question that we got was from the user called Snazshaw. What intrigued you about starting the brand Pillar?
Snazshaw. Okay. I that one's a really easy one for me. It was a purely, it came from my own experience in my professional rugby career. I was a very heavily injured athlete if you go on I won't go into the full details, but probably more well known for being injured than I was actually spending time on the field. But because of those injuries, I needed to have a real dialed in approach to micronutrition. And what I quickly found was that the products on the micronutrition side that the higher level athletes were now having to take definitely sat within the pharmaceutical space. And what I then quickly found was that the pharmaceutical space had never really concentrated on creating specific formulas for athletic outcomes. It was and still remains very heavily focused on a 55-year-old plus preventative health demographic, and that there summed, and really pointed me in the direction of a gap that needed to be addressed.
Yeah, that's interesting. And like when you go deeper on that, when you first discovered micronutrition, what was like the first micro that caught your eye and you noticed that you found made a big difference in your own journey through injury?
Because my injuries were all joint based. I had three ACLs subsequently, and then a final surgery that involved an osteotomy on my left tibia. I suffered severely from inflammation and arthritis and early onset arthritis. So for me, I was trying to solve, like many athletes, I was trying to solve for inflammation. And inflammation was, one way of counteracting that is obviously taking non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, which we know can solve a very short-term pain for athletes, but also we all very, very well know long-term is not a solution because of the severe side effects they can have on, gastrointestinals. And that was what was told to me. I was taking too many of these, so needed to focus on trying to find natural products that would take inflammation away. So I turned to omega-3. I started to do an awful amount of research, found ingredients such as omega-3, curcumin longa, which is more commonly known as turmeric. I found later that there was a new ingredient called boswellia extract, which now exists obviously in our Motion Armor product. Again, it's in that root and natural family. So those three products on the inflammation side all sat naturally, all sat without side effects. But I really focused in on omega-3. I felt for me and the studies that we were following, if I could get my omega-3 content and particularly the EPA level of the triglyceride up over 3,000 milligrams of that a day, I would be able, hopefully, to counteract some of the pain I've had. So look, what we found was there wasn't a solution for that product here in Australia, and we had to try and find the raw ingredient, and we had to venture all the way over to Norway to bring this stuff back into Australia. And that's what really sparked my attention, because that immediately started to help. I was able to train more consistent days. Obviously in rugby, we'd do a heavy field day and heavy leg weight sessions, and that would leave my knee really sore. But with the help of omega-3 at a very high dose, I was actually able to continue to train throughout the week, get selected to play, and then put a couple of years on the end of my career.
That's awesome. So good. We have a question from Anonymous. What has been the biggest challenge for Pillar that you faced in the past year?
I think without a doubt, it's the mindset of trying to educate and I suppose shift the mindset for athletes that performance nutrition doesn't just involve the during element of nutrition. I think let's summarize it very, very high level. Performance nutrition, you have before, you have during activity, and post activity, the recovery phase. And I think particularly for the endurance side of the athletes, there has been maybe an over focus on the during, which is obviously incredibly important. The fueling stage of a race or training is very important. But because of the amount of strain that places on the body, the before and after is subsequently so vitally important. Now, for us, we, traditionally this category has always sat in the pharmaceutical space. We are doing something very different in the fact that we've specifically formulated these products that have always sat in preventative health and pharmaceuticals. We have now positioned them for performance to include, before and after training and racing, but they need to be taken in the here and now. So to try and shift that mindset from an educational perspective for athletes has probably been the most challenging because it's just so new. But the astounding feedback we've been getting is once people understand how important this stuff is that can be used in the here and now, and you don't need to take it and wait 3 or 4 weeks to get benefit, it's a remarkable turnaround, the shift, and that's probably the thing that you and I talk about the most, and here in the company we talk about the most, is that we are really driving a shift and a change in mentality in terms of nutrition and focus for athletes, and hopefully allowing people to do what they love longer. We want to, our goal here is to get people to the start line more often and in better shape, and we want to, on top of that, we want them to be able to do that more often as well.
Most definitely. Like, there's nothing worse than not making a start line because of something that you could have done consistently in training that could have been an easy fix. So no, I totally get that. And I guess like when you go on with that, we're looking at the retail space. You were talking to me about like how you go and educate staff members as well, like to kind of face that challenge. What's the strategy behind that?
And as the business model is, we run an omni-channel business, meaning we have a direct-to-consumer channel, but we're not a D2C traditional business. We also work very closely with retail partners. That is really important for us as a business because they are the ones that also have the ear of consumers. They can help us amplify that message and education. I would love to say that there's a fast way to do it, but obviously on limited resources and budget, you have to go and do the groundwork. It really has been an amazingly large undertaking from our team to go and meet with our pharmacy retailers, specialty sports retailers. But what we found is once the retailer understands what we're doing, and we always start with the retailer they have to take the product first. So we go in. And obviously we say, guys, you need these. This is your protocol. These are your products. Go and take them. Let us know your personal feedback. Luckily for us, more often than not, the feedback has been resounding in the fact that it's actually really benefited their recovery, their performance, how they feel in and around training, which is then allows us to then go and dive deeper and explain to them what is within the product, how to look for little cues from obviously their athletes that are shopping in their stores, and it's been, from our perspective as well, it's then allowed us also, because we do have quite a lot of knowledge now in this micro space, and we're really the only ones doing what we're doing, to be able to then utilize our retail partners to amplify that message and education has worked really well. But it hasn't come easy. It's a lot of work, and so I just wanted to probably take the opportunity as well to thank all of our retail partners. We have here in Australia, we have over 800 retail partners, and we wanted just to say, guys, we really appreciate every single one of you for the added, continued support you're giving the business. We're going to look to continue that strong relationship that we have. Huge focus that I have on the company. It's a huge, it'll be a focus for us moving forward to make sure that we are working at the ground level with our retailers, because at the end of the day, you guys are an extension of the business. It's where our customers will go for information. So for us, that's exactly how we see it.
That's awesome. So good. And we've got one more question from Jack Kelly. So he wanted to know what is your top 5 most memorable moments or stories from the first year at Pillar?
Well, first year, I'll try and break it down into 2022. Some big milestones for the business. I think probably our first event was super exciting. We launched in the middle of lockdown here in Australia, so we did have to we had to use digital strategies to essentially educate the brand. Our first event was at Geelong Ironman, I remember, beginning of this year, and it was, for me, it was our first time that we were able to put the Pillar brand up. We had the tent and we had everything, and it was a bit of a surreal moment for me, seeing the brand out there, getting firsthand to kind of get in front of our customers and those potential customers and people that were started to be coming over and showing a lot of interest. That for me was a really nice moment, because I was able to see the brand out and about, and see a lot of that hard work when you go building a company. To have it out there on display for the first time was really exciting. Some key highlights. We launched. I mean, obviously the day we became completely informed sport certified was a huge day. There was a massive process involved in that, and for those of you who don't know, it's really difficult to do what we do with in terms of making all these products WADA approved, because when you test things on the macro side, it's quite easy. There's often just 1 or 2 ingredients. Let's take protein, for example. Often you've got a base like a whey protein isolate. Then you've got some flavoring, which might be chocolate. So you've got 2 ingredients. You then have to match up those 2 ingredients against all 200 banned substances on the ASADA list and the WADA list, which they grow and change every 6 weeks, which makes it very difficult. Now, on the micro side, it's much more difficult because some of our ingredients, and in micronutrition, you can have what's called excipients and also actives, and the combination of some of those can be upwards of 15 to 16 ingredients. Now, to Inform Sport certify something, you have to test 5 batches of the product, and you have to test each one of those ingredients in each product across all 200 of them. And what we found was that the reason it hadn't been done before is because the technology hadn't allowed that to happen yet. So we worked really closely over time to get that done, to upskill the technology, and it was a really, really proud day for us when we were able to say we were 100% Informed Sport certified, because I know it made a lot of professional teams and a lot of athletes here in Australia incredibly happy, and I hope it's going to make a lot of teams and pro athletes and tested athletes and those non-tested athletes that just want to know that there's contaminant-free products out there on the market. That was another special moment for us. I think 5 might be too many, but those 2. Look, a little personal favourite. Last one. When we launched the second flavor of the triple magnesium, which for the company, I'd love people to think about Pillar more like a medicinal company, sports nutrition, almost sports medicine company, than we are a sports supplement company. So the concept of launching a new flavor for a medicine is very new to the market. I was actually quite against it because of the fact that I felt that our triple magnesium powder, it's doing, and the berry still is the main hold of the company. What we're able to do with the innovation on that product, making the magnesium as strong as it is, but with that taste profile. I was a little bit worried that obviously it would take the focus off that product, but we had just we had so much feedback for people saying, look, we're not going to stop taking the berry, but we just want an alternative flavor so we can alternate and change. And when we launched the pineapple coconut flavor, which we should have called pina colada, for anyone who has tasted that, it tastes like a pina colada. That coconutty flavor is definitely in there. It was a really nice day to see all the support from our customers coming on and purchasing that product as well, which was fantastic. So, because I was a little bit worried about launching, I thought it might have been something that we'd missed the mark on, but it turns out alternative flavors do work, and particularly for us here at Pillar, that triple magnesium flavor profile is what everyone loves about that product, and it's probably something we're going to continue to look into and launch some new flavors going forward.
Yeah, and going on that, like, what are you most excited about for the year ahead in 2023?
Yeah, I mean, pretty simply, we're going to be launching in international markets, which for me is a huge milestone for the business. It probably shows how fast we have been able to grow, but more so probably also shows, because of the demand that has come from overseas, it also shows that it's really exciting that we're on, the gap that we thought and I found here in Australia definitely exists internationally, which for me now it's a huge challenge. It's a really big undertaking going into new markets. But I think for us now, it's a calculated move because we understand, and having spoken to those people in those markets, understanding that Pillar is also serving an unserviced market right now, and the gap that we found between that, preventative health and pharmaceutical space and sports supplements, it does exist globally. So it's an exciting opportunity for us to launch. We launched in a soft launch into Europe recently. We're going to be continuing deepening our roots into Europe, and with one eye on North America shortly after. So that's what I'm most looking forward to. I know you and I have been planning heavily on that side of things. So, for us as a business, it's really exciting.
Yeah, awesome. So Damo, ever since starting the company, I noticed that events is one thing that we do a lot of. So I was wondering, for 2023, what is the plan for the event space for Pillar?
Yeah, it is. Look, we tend to fill up our schedules pretty heavily. It's also something that we all love. It works amazingly well for us. We are as a business, and I've really tried to drive that across everyone involved in our team. we don't want to be one of those brands that kind of hides behind a website or our retailers. We really want to put ourselves out there. So, part of, introducing obviously you today and me doing this, we want to make ourselves accessible. I think events are probably the most phenomenal way to learn about your community, build that community as well. Much more, just outside of product as well, going to events, putting on events, activations, seminars. It's an amazing way to really interact and start to add benefit to your, to loyal customers and retailers as well. We had an incredibly busy year. It was 20, we had 20, I think the other day, Britta and I counted, we had 25 events across 2022. So if you think about that, that's every second weekend pretty much taken up. And that was across, Ironman Expos, which was an amazing experience to be involved in those events. Running events, we had retail activations, community activations, a lot of trade conferences as well, which was really important. So over 25 of those. We have just done our planner for next year, and it's looking like we will probably top that, which is going to be exciting. The plan for 23 will be to continue, as always, to be in front of our customers wherever they are. And as I was mentioning before, if we go into international markets, there is definitely some key races, and we'll be focusing on the triathlon scene in Europe and the US. And we're going to be targeting a number of races and introducing Pillar on the ground in Europe across June, July, and also in the US later in the year. So exciting time for events. We'll always continue to do that. As a business and a brand, it's what we want to do. We want to, we don't hide behind anything. We want people to come and give us our feedback, good and bad. We always take on the bad feedback, which we've had, and hopefully the products we bring out and some of the iterations we bring to some of our current products show that we've taken on feedback from people, because we really are trying to stand behind our vision. We want every athlete in the world to live in a space where they can have products that are clinically proven, safe, but also then to actually get them to the start line more often. So, that means taking on bad feedback and making adjustments where you need to. And events and expos allow us to do that.
That's awesome. Was there anything else you'd like to say before we finish up here, Damo?
Again, just want to thank everyone. Probably wrap up today. Thank our customers. That's, the business and the lights wouldn't stay on without you guys. It's been a phenomenal journey this first 15 months, but if we say 2022 in its entirety, first year of the business, we just want to continue to really try and give you guys added value. So I want to thank all of you guys for your support, all of you for, the way you interact with the brand. We really couldn't be here, and we wouldn't be here without you guys. So thank you very much. And for those of you who are just coming over to the brand, and maybe for those of you who have been asking us to get the product into different markets, I want to say, look, it is coming and we're working on it. At the moment, logistics, it takes a little bit of time to work through in the current environment. But just to everyone, thank you. I want everyone to have a great Christmas, have a great, holiday time with your family. It's been a huge year. We're pretty exhausted, right, Borge? So I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that are going to be looking forward to a break as well. But mate, that probably wraps us up. And I think this has been really good, mate. First podcast. Let me throw a question to you. Give me your background. I know you were saying you were a bit nervous before. How'd you go? You ease up into it?
Yeah, no, I thought it was good. Like it's, I guess like once you get into it, it's just like we're just chatting normally. I think just knowing that it's being recorded is just like something in the back of my mind. But I think, nice and short, quick and easy. Let's get it up and let's get it going.
Nice. So, guys, if you think you did a good job, give him some feedback. Okay, all for positive reinforcement here. Have a good Christmas, everybody. Thank you.
See you guys.